Welcome to Dark Souls.
You're goddamn right.
Hey guys, it's your friendly neighborhood Dragonslayer here, and Happy New Year to all of you because you truly deserve it after putting up with so much insanity from the previous one. Before we begin, not only do I need to ask you guys to put in the comments down below what your opinions are regarding the travesty we're about to cover, but also let me know what you thought was the worst scene from those two episodes. Now, believe me when I say that this show is terrible, because unlike half of the YouTubers covering it, I actually watched the entire two premiere episodes back to back in full. However, let's not get ahead of ourselves and let me tell you a quick story. So, as usual, your dragon boy went on a quest to find out the worst crap that has come out of this new year so far, and thanks to social media, I found out that HBO Max was making a modern reimagining of the Scooby-Doo universe, mostly focusing on Velma. Now, I will admit that at first I thought the show could potentially be good because I had watched various iterations of Scooby-Doo like the 1960s, 80s, 90s, and even early 2000s shows and movies, which I enjoyed a lot throughout my childhood. But nothing could have prepared me for the extreme disappointment I felt when I watched that damn trailer weeks before it came out, I might add. But to give you a good visual of how I felt, imagine seeing me in a 1933 Berlin book burning situation where I'm watching HBO and Warner Brothers throw down all the good things about Scooby-Doo into this giant pit of fire and then hear them yell constantly in my ear while they're doing so that their modern piece of desiccated manure is now what Scooby-Doo was always meant to be.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Not only is this how I felt when I watched the trailer, but I also felt extremely angry when I forcefully sat myself down to watch this show so that you, my beloved audience, don't have to. And believe me when I say that I will not leave a single stone unturned in this review. But know that this video might be a little bit long since I'm covering both episodes. Also, please note that I won't be able to show you some of the scenes in the show due to them having some graphic violence and nudity that Papa YouTube would gladly age restrict or in the future demonetize my video for without batting an eye.
Fuck you.
Without further ado, let's jump into the seventh circle of Hades because I can't even say the Christian word for it anymore, thanks to the YouTube guidelines. So we begin with Velma telling us that this show is about her origin story of how she assembled the Scooby-Doo team and that it won't be like those other origin stories you have watched in the past cause, like she says...
And it starts with a murder.
Okay, Velma, I don't know how else to tell you this, but your origin story is going to be like every generic woke show that comes out today because the people behind it can make an interesting story that adds to the Scooby-Doo universe. Instead, they took what was already there, did horrible witchcraft to it in order to wipe its identity, and then sold its soul to Satan in order so that people actually watch their trash because they know that no sane person is going to watch this show unless they're under some dark spell.
Man, that's not a prediction. That's a fact of life.
Anyway, we jump to an Asian Daphne in the girls' locker room who suspects that someone is behind her, but when she turns around, she just notices that it's just two roaches banging and starts walking towards the shower room, and then moments later, those roaches get crushed under someone's boot.
Okay.
A scene then happens where a naked Daphne talks with a group of naked girls about some really stupid crap regarding gratuitous sex and nudity in pilot episodes, which then leads to a naked wet girl fight that climaxes with Daphne getting attacked by a masked Velma with a walking stick. But then she asks Daphne what she thinks about race-blind casting, and I guess Daphne gives her an answer that she didn't expect because she just stopped attacking her.
But wait! There's more!
Also, guys, I need to quickly point out something to you. All of these naked animated girls in this scene, which the show presents in the first 3 minutes, are supposed to be high school sophomore or senior girls, or in other words, underage girls.
Oh! Ew! What the f***?
These people are sick, man, and to prove to you that I'm not crazy, they make it clear that the place this is all occurring in is a high school, not a college. Just look! I'm not a tinfoil hat kind of man, but they're literally just putting this out there into the public space for all the perverse weirdos to see, and it's just very creepy to me. But let me know if I'm overthinking it in the comments as well.
Moving on.
Anyway, Velma ends the fight with Daphne and then opens her locker to find a girl named Brenda inside of it, and eventually they all find out that she is dead because the second her body hits the ground, half of her head falls off, and then Velma says the line of, "Guys, she has no brains." Fast forwarding a bit, Velma is in the police station where she is questioned by an interracial lesbian couple who apparently are Daphne's moms about the fact that she is the prime suspect in this Brenda girl's murder. Velma immediately proceeds to insult the two cops by calling them incompetent idiots and tries to idiotically leave the station, to which the cops decide just to whip out their guns to force her to sit. Now look, their reasoning behind Velma being a potential suspect is that she was lurking around the locker room like a pervy gym teacher and that the dead body was found in her locker.
Get the fuck out of here!
Oh god, I am sure all lesbian cops out there are totally behind people perceiving them this way.
Short Duke, a shitstorm.
Anyways, Velma then claims that she is innocent but says that she doesn't want to cooperate, and the interrogation ends with the cops saying that if she doesn't find the person who did this in 24 hours, she is going to end up in jail.
God damn.
She then walks out of the station only to get tripped by the pretty white boy Fred, who literally says that he doesn't recognize her because he has a disease that makes him unable to remember people who aren't hot.
Asshole!
Yeah, the former leader of the group has been reduced to what modern Hollywood likes to perceive as a pompous, pampered, and useless rich white male who the idiotic Daphne is dating, to which I have no idea if the show is implying something about white men and Asian women dating.
You know what? I give up.
Regardless, the crazy part is that the dead girl was apparently his side chick in case the relationship with Daphne never worked out. However, the insane part is that he told all of this to Velma while Daphne was nearby, but she just ignores everything he said and starts to passionately kiss him in public, and because this is a female empowerment show, Daphne is the one who takes the initiative to squeeze Fred's ass first and tries to go for the zipper, but is stopped by Fred, who for some unknown reason doesn't feel up to it.
What is this crap?
Guys, we're only at the 7-minute mark with this episode, so please pray for me because this is fucking torture. Alright, so a little bit later, Velma returns to her house where she tells her useless lawyer dad about the fact that she's been accused of murder, and he doesn't care one bit that his daughter is in this situation.
That's terrible!
We are then shown the fact that apparently Velma's dad impregnated the female owner of the popular diner shop after his wife went missing, and Velma is then forced to work at this diner shop until she resigns after Daphne decides to tell everyone in the diner that she is a suspect for the murder of the Brenda woman, who for some reason they're doing her funeral service in the actual diner shop.
Yes, I can definitely smell shite.
I swear, the writers were taking a ton of LSD or some more potent stuff to write this plot because none of this makes any sense. Anyway, Velma then escapes the madness until she has a hallucination that is only broken because she ran into Fred again, and she then has a talk with him where she makes it clear to the audience that the reason her mom went missing is because when she was little, her mom was a writer who smoked and drank a lot of her Idea Juice whiskey in order to boost her writing, and this apparently inspired Velma to solve many mysteries. One day, she discovered a secret present before Christmas Day, which made her cry, and her mom decided to go out and buy her another gift to cheer her up, which is when she ended up going missing.
Maybe she left.
Anyway, Fred goes away not giving a crap about what she said, and Black Shaggy, Norville, decides to pick up Velma because she wasn't answering his 2,000 voicemails, and also because his dad took away his phone after calling her a bitch in the last one.
Stop fooling around, you simp.
Before we continue with this so-called story, yes, Norville is an ultra-clingy simp for Velma until episode 2, and you will see why. Anyhow, Norville tells Velma to listen to his voicemails since he says he told her who the killer might be in them, instead of just telling her directly while they're driving.
Are you serious?
Apparently, he says that he gave his camera to Brenda to investigate the popular diner because he suspected drugs were being sold there, but Brenda vaguely told him that she got a picture of something suspicious happening in the diner bathrooms. Velma then thinks that the camera her pregnant stepmom got is Norville's, and she goes to her house to verify this. However, she finds out that this camera isn't Norville's and that the pictures inside of it have nothing to do with the murder. Apparently, her dad says her stepmom was able to afford the new camera because she likes to take pictures of babies dressed up in vegetable suits.
Oh, that's nasty.
She is then told by her dad that her mom didn't leave because she couldn't solve a mystery, but because she simply couldn't put up with either of them and left out of frustration.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
At first, Velma denies it all, but then proceeds to have a sudden memory lapse where the truth is revealed, and then we cut to her showing up in school dressed up like she's trying to one-up Emma Stone from Easy A.
Dirty hoe.
Apparently, she thinks dressing up like this while declaring that she is no longer a weirdo will make her immediately likable to everyone in school.
No, it won't.
And apparently it ends up working quite well until one of the popular girls calls her out on her attempt by saying that it still won't change the fact that everyone still thinks she is a suspected killer.
Gotcha, bitch.
People then proceed to throw stuff at her and she ends up falling, and then the craziest thing ever happens. Someone decides to throw a damn paper cutter at her, and Fred comes out of nowhere to save her by catching it with his bare hands and then throws it back in the direction it came from, which causes the cutter to bounce off the wall and cut off the foot of one of the students.
What the fuck is this? I don't know.
Fred then diffuses the situation by insulting her in front of everyone, and Velma almost has an argument with Daphne in the bathroom until they get into a girl talking about whether or not Fred is gay? Now look, the show hasn't implied any of that yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did that in future episodes, and quite frankly, I don't care anymore.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
So moving on, Daphne also mentions to Velma that Fred always kicks everyone out of the diner bathroom when he needs to use it, and this raises her suspicions.
That's suspicious.
She then commands her simp servant Norville to drive her to Fred's house to find evidence that will prove he is the murderer of Brenda, and breaks inside his house, but then starts hallucinating while having a phone call with Norville, who is apparently bored.
Excuse me, what?
Being very frightened, Velma yells at Norville to tell her something to break the hallucinations, and he then decides the best thing to do is to confess his love to her, which ends up backfiring on him royally because Velma thinks he is joking, which is so freaking cringy that I almost stopped watching, and to add further insult to that injury, this happens afterwards.
Who knew you were so funny?
Yes, it's hilarious. I'm the funniest man alive. This is not what I need right now!
She then looks at Norville's camera and is asking herself why Brenda photographed Fred, and he comes out of the shower to tell her why he has the camera. Apparently, Fred hasn't grown out of puberty yet, which means that he still has prepubescent boyish looks that, if the public found out about it, would ruin his reputation as a strong, manly future leader of his family's corporation. He then tells Velma that he will do to her what he did to Brenda, which ends up in Fred getting shot in both legs by Daphne's cop parents.
You what?
Apparently, they're going to arrest Fred because they think he is the murderer, but Fred says that he wasn't the one that killed Brenda.
Oh, come on!
He then elaborates this further by saying that all he did was pay off Brenda for the camera and her silence, and that he is innocent.
I don't believe you.
The first episode then just abruptly ends with Norville and Velma finding out that another body of a different popular girl is inside her house dumpster and that she was killed in the same manner as Brenda. And for those of you whose brain cells have survived up to this point, consider giving this video that whole like, share, subscribe, and notification bell stuff if you're enjoying it so far. Now, let's jump into episode 2. So we begin with Fred being walked out of his house by the token interracial lesbian cops to face his day in court, while being swarmed by reporters asking if it's true that he's the one that killed the two girls. And before Fred can get in the car, they of course make fun of the rich white guy by making his bathrobe accidentally open up and people gasping at how small his male member is.
That was childish, man.
His dad then says the cliche line of, "It's not small, it's scared," while walking Fred inside the car, and then for some reason we're shown a clip of Norville being in the possession of an ancient Chinese sword that can cut through anything, which makes absolutely no sense. But regardless, we jump to a news article that summarizes what we already knew, and then we're told that Velma's dad is apparently representing Fred in the upcoming trial.
What a twist!
Confused as to why her dad is doing this, he tells her that he's doing it because he's going to make a lot of money representing them, because of course all lawyers to Mindy Kaling and the producers of the show are a bunch of money-grubbing spawns of Satan. Fast forwarding a bit, we find Norville commenting to Velma how everyone at school seems to be acting completely fine despite news coming out that Fred is the potential murderer of the two girls, and Velma says that it's because all of their classmates are either a bunch of clueless idiots or useless drug addicts that don't care about any of those things.
Stop it. Get some help.
They then make a stupid joke that's supposed to be a jab at grown adults who watch cartoons, to which this is my eloquent reply.
Shut the f*** up.
Velma then goes on to rudely ask Daphne if she can provide her with her mom's cold case files, and Daphne says that she will if Velma can cough up $500, which already amplifies Daphne's character trait of being a huge bitch.
It's pretty bad.
We then skip to a scene where Velma's dad is in Fred's house, where he says that the best way to avoid Fred getting convicted for the murders is to present an unfavorable image of Fred being a late bloomer and have him show very childish behavior to change the public's perception of him as a teen sociopath.
You are stupid.
Fred's parents at first don't want to go through with the act, but after seeing their son act extremely childish in this scene, they decide that this is probably the best way to save their son and accept the proposal.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right.
Hey, Mindy, I need to ask you a question that I normally don't ask, but, did a rich white man hurt you or a producer emotionally in the past? Because I honestly have no idea where this incredible hatred towards white men is coming from, so please tell me, what is your deal with us white people? And don't give me the same excuse I hear of, your ancestors did bad things to us in the past, because white people are not all the same in a mental, spiritual, cultural, or even genetic level.
I think I made my point. Eloquent.
Regardless, we are then shown Velma coming to the Rogers family home to speak with Norville until she finds out that Daphne's cop moms are going to go undercover at her school to find a drug dealer that goes by the name of Candyman, and I sure hope it isn't this one.
Number 4, step forward and set a line. We hear you looking for Candyman.
Moving on, Velma interrupts and ruins Norville's livestream in order to demand him to help her come up with the $500 she needs in order to get her mom's cold case files from Daphne, and he just agrees to it because his plan is to sell some of his stuff in order to get the money, which he will then use to buy the cold case files from Daphne in order to blackmail Velma into dating him.
Hey, come on, pal. There's plenty of fish in the sea.
Velma then goes back to school and attempts to get Daphne to give her the cold case files by just giving her $5, which fails spectacularly, but instead, Daphne proposes to her a different way in which she could earn those files.
I don't like where this is going.
And to summarize it, Daphne is a school drug dealer known as Candyman, and she wants Velma to help her sell drugs, and her reasoning behind doing this is that according to TV, it's morally okay to do this kind of thing if your life is kind of crappy.
Wow. No comment.
Velma then threatens to expose Daphne to her cop moms if she doesn't give her the files, and Daphne physically threatens her, but we're apparently supposed to view this scene as a romantic one?
Help me! Help me!
Look, I don't care anymore, so let me just give you a quick summary of what happens. So, Velma screws up at every single drug deal she tries to make because she is too stuck up, has an argument with Daphne about it, and they almost get busted by Daphne's adopted cop moms, but are able to barely escape thanks to Daphne sending a text to her moms that she wants to adopt a cat, which is insane, but according to the show's logic, cats are lesbian couples' kryptonite.
I am dead inside.
Additionally, Norville tries to sell his kidney to some shady figure for $500, but instead he almost ends up getting killed by a wanted thief, and he is only saved from certain death because the stoners from the motel complex recognize him as the guy who makes the snack videos.
No, you're not serious.
Also, Daphne's cop moms give him the $500 reward for the capture of the thief and wish him good luck on using that money to coerce Velma into dating him. But Norville doesn't accept it because he says the stoners were the ones that caught the thief, and he says he will try to coerce her the old-fashioned way by being fancy.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Velma is then coerced by Daphne to make one last drug deal to one customer who turns out to be her dad, and they have an argument back home that ends with her dad proposing to give her the $500 for the case file if she goes into the witness stand to testify that Fred is innocent. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that the tactic Fred's family tried on him to change the public's perception of him backfired miserably because it rained suddenly.
No pictures! Unless it's in portrait mode!
Oh God, he looks like Hitler! And not just because we compare everyone to Hitler these days.
5 minutes later.
She then goes to Fred's house and finds out exactly how she is going to prove to the court that he is innocent, and the next day at court she testifies that Fred couldn't be the killer everyone is making him out to be because the man is such a pampered rich white dude that he cannot cut a steak by himself.
I beg your pardon?
Shocked by this revelation, the crowd then starts murmuring, and Fred says that what she is saying is not true, but Velma says that he should prove it by cutting the steak by himself.
You're in trouble now.
And suffice to say, this depiction of Fred failing miserably at doing the simple task is so cringy that the people in the court start to laugh at him and call him a little boy for it.
Oh, no, they didn't.
Oh, yes, they did!
Being completely embarrassed publicly, Fred becomes an enraged psycho who just blurts out loud that he could easily become the guy who killed those girls if he wanted to, which ends up in the judge giving him a quick guilty verdict. Back home, Velma's dad complains to her that the case damages his reputation so much that he can no longer represent anyone, and as usual, the sociopath just disregards her dad's distress until she hears Daphne knocking at her door. But let me summarize this final scene real quick. So Daphne gives her the cold case files for free. Velma ends up having another hallucination episode, which is only broken when Daphne kisses her, and then Norville just says this while watching this entire thing unfold.
Great. Now even just being myself won't work. Rom-coms can kiss my ass.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So with that, I have saved you almost an entire hour of having to feel half of your brain cells deteriorate, and from now on, this show and every other one that I think is extremely terrible will receive the Turd Ring of Power Award. Now, if you will excuse me, I'm going to purify my eyes with some holy water, fast for 3 days, get the demons in my eyes exorcised by a church-ordained priest, and watch a manly film afterwards like Demolition Man in order to forget this show exists. Also, please know that the only way I will subject myself to covering more episodes of this trash is if this video gets at least 500 likes.
Not gonna happen.
Anyway, my friends, I wish all of you a wonderful day, and Namarie.